Happy Halloween!
Oh, it breathes all over me.
Yeah, sorry about that bit. It's Halloween.
It is.
We're in a pub in Halloween.
Oh, hang on. Let's do
Yeah,
a
it's
Halloween
chips.
moment. No.
Oh, you're going to do fangs? Oh, potato vampire. So for
So hot. Quick, get the photo.
So
get
for the
the
audience
photo.
who can't
I'm
see this,
burning.
Gwynham currently has got 2 chips dangling from his upper lip.
Lee Davis and Gwynham Roberts are the two IPs in a pod, and you are listening to a podcast on intellectual property, brought to you by the Chartered Institute of Patent Attorneys.
So it's Halloween, and do you know what? So I was asked by someone earlier this week who knew that I was coming to this podcast today, and she said, "What are you going to go dressed as?" I was like, "Oh, I don't do dressing up for Halloween. Well, I do, but only when I'm at home and scaring children." So she said, "What are you going to go dressed as?" And I had no idea what I would go dressed as because I couldn't really think about the scariest thing imaginable. But do you know what? I got it earlier.
The scariest thing.
Scariest thing. I would go dressed as AI. Ooh. Because how scary is AI?
Can I come just as a giant asteroid? Because that's the only other thing that compares, isn't it?
So yeah, it's a giant asteroid heading towards Earth, and it can only be either defeated by AI or it doesn't matter because AI will survive it.
So when we're trick-or-treating,
Yeah.
you're just as AI.
I'm just as AI.
I'm a giant asteroid.
I don't know what it looks like. Some kind of like Cody stuff all over, like a black mantle or something, maybe.
Some
or
Matrix
some
yeah, dangling green
Now,
text.
this only really works if we've got someone with us who can talk about AI.
Have we?
I don't know. Do we? Do we have a guest for this
Hang
one?
on a minute.
Hang on a minute. Ellie, how are you?
I'm good. I'm actually disappointed that you guys aren't wearing your green sparkly jacket. Last time I was on this podcast, that was quite an impression.
Hang on, you're not allowed to embarrass us by coming in with something like that immediately. Yeah. Last time we were.
He's moved on though. He's won another award.
Last time we were wearing our award-winning 2 IPs in a pod podcast jacket.
Yeah.
I don't have a Chief Exec of the Year jacket, but if I had one, obviously I would be wearing it.
You could have been wearing that massive plaque on your head.
Yeah, it was quite large. It was quite a large pack. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. So, tell us a bit about yourself. Who are you, and why do you deserve to be on this podcast?
Oh, wow. Okay, I will try this. So, my name is Ellie. My full name is Injin Kirella.
Injin Kirella.
Yeah, I was just saying to these guys, it's a mixture of a Korean name with an Italian surname. So, yeah, it's quite difficult. But I'm currently a trainee patent attorney.
Just interject. Why Ellie in the middle of all that?
Well, so I was born in Korea. And I came over to the UK when I was 5. And when I was in primary school, I was using my Korean name, Eunjin. But it's just a little bit difficult for people to say. Can you try it, Lee?
Eunjin.
That's actually quite good. Gwyneth?
Eunjin.
That's actually not too bad. And yeah, it just got to a point where it was just easier to pick an anglicised name. So when I went into secondary school, some of my Korean friends and I, we sort of picked our own English names.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, I chose Ellie.
Ellie.
Why did you choose Ellie? It always fascinates me because that's the big thing in age of choosing your own name. But you're quite young to be doing it, so you can go horribly wrong, can't you? I mean,
Yeah.
Ellie's a lovely name. What drove you to choose that name?
Well, so I went for Injin starts with E, so it will start with E. But funny thing, actually, I actually chose Eliza because I thought that sounded even nicer. But I remember the first day of my secondary school, I was in line in assembly, and then the person next to me, she was called Katie, and then we were doing the whole, what's your name? Oh, my name's Katie. What's your name? Oh, my name's Eliza. And she's like, Ellie? Like, Elisa? And I was like, no, this cannot be happening. I need to choose an easier name. So I chose Ellie, because I think that might be the easiest name.
I've got the question for the end.
Oh, have you?
Oh,
yeah. You're not allowed to do the closing. So you need to be prepared for this, Ellie, because there's So I always do a closing question, which is like tangentially related to the rest of the podcast, and Gwynham rarely does this, but clearly he's got a good one.
All over it.
You're all over it.
Okay.
Sorry, back to your story. So, why do you deserve to be here?
So I'm currently a trainee patent attorney at IBM UK, and I've been here for about 3 years. But before that, I was actually doing research and engineering in the AI space, where I was specialising in something called AI interpretability. But yeah, when this opportunity came around about 3 years ago within IBM for an in-house attorney, it just made sense for me because I was doing inventors inventing by myself as well. So it was quite nice to, be an inventor and then go to the other side to see the.
Is there
dark
anything
side.
left to invent in AI? Is it?
There's a lot to it.
Is there?
Yeah.
A podcast before this one, Gwilym said that there is nothing left that's worth inventing in the world ever.
No, that's not really what I said. But carry on.
But in AI, there must be a lot to invent, surely.
Yeah, I think there's sort of core AI into the algorithms and the methodologies, and then there's a lot in applied AI as well. So.
Also, now you have to explain both of those to me because I don't really know what you're talking about. So.
Sure. So core AI is when the invention's in the sort of depths of the technology itself. So things that help the gears.
Making the technology work better.
Yeah, precisely. And there's a whole other host of applications of AI systems that you're also able to patent to.
Yeah.
But as an inventor, I actually am not in that space.
Where are you?
Well, in truth, I haven't invented this year. I was a master inventor.
I haven't invented
I haven't
this year.
I haven't invented this year. I was doing it a lot, but now that I'm in the IP department, it's a little bit tricky because, I can't review my own patents, you see.
Yeah.
But yeah, before I was doing things like origami style credit cards and voice controlled devices.
No, hang on. You just keep dropping stuff.
You
just keep dropping stuff into the conversation, don't you? So origami credit cards.
Mm-hmm.
Why? No. First of all, what? But then
What?
Why?
How?
So do you remember when contactless credit cards first came in?
Yeah, sort of.
So sort of.
You remember when they invented money?
Yeah. So I don't know if you remember this problem. It was on the news for a while where there wasn't that many safeguards around security.
Yeah.
So people would go around with these like tapping cards and tap people's wallets on the street and then take 20 quid.
Yeah, I remember
and so
that.
that was the problem we were trying to solve. And so we thought, hey, what is an easy way to add another layer of security on that doesn't really change the current system?
Yeah.
So we came up with this new credit card where listeners at home, I'm sort of gesturing with my hands.
You're describing a credit card
card.
size. Yeah.
And NFC systems have kind of a circuit, right, that you tap on.
Yeah.
And so our origami style one is basically you have different tabs on different sides
So
of
the card isn't origami.
Exactly.
The card doesn't fold up.
It sort of folds up. There are different tabs that you can sort of switch. And so you not only have your numerical PIN number, but you almost have like a foldable PIN, like a physical PIN.
So you have to know how to unfold it to be able to
Or fold it, yeah.
Or fold it, right.
But it's easy enough that you can just take it out and just do fold one bit, tap it. So it's quite easy, not destructive.
Got
It's
it.
kind of close to probably a deck chair, isn't it? Because that's really difficult to open unless you know what you're doing.
No one's ever stolen the money with a deck chair, though, have they?
Have you ever sat in a deck chair and been approached by somebody who owns the deck chair?
This is true, yeah. Well, I've entirely lost the plot now. I don't know where I am.
So what was your? May I ask?
Yeah, go crack on.
Some questions. So hang on. So you've been doing AI. How did you get to AI? What's your education background?
My background, so I studied physics in London.
Yeah, there we go. I am now the only person on this podcast in the three of us here who studied plumbing.
It's the 3 Ps club.
2 P's in the pod.
Yeah.
Podcast.
3 P's in the
3 P's. Oh yeah,
3 P's in the
So you study physics, yeah.
So I studied physics in London at King's College. I actually wanted to go into medical physics because even when I was studying, I always preferred the applied part of the sciences. So that's what I was sort of gearing up to. But then in my last summer, I did an internship at IBM, and where we were doing software engineering.
So date-wise, when was that? Ish.
2014.
Okay.
Yeah. 8-9 years
So
ago.
nearly 10 years. Nearly 10 years.
Don't say that. God. So yeah, that's when I did my internship, and I don't know, I just loved it so much. It was the first time I was doing software engineering, applying technology to real life problems.
Yeah.
So I joined IBM as a graduate. So my first job was working on mainframes and a product called Kix, which does a lot of transaction management for banks and so on. And then for a couple years, I was in the emerging technologies team where I was doing AI research. So my specialization was something called AI explainability or interpretability. Have you heard anything about this?
No, you need to help us. Well, go on.
Okay, so we've got all these models, and say you train it to have a very good accuracy, but it's basically useless unless we know how it's been trained and how it's gotten to the result that we're using. And essentially, it's all about building trust. So I've got quite a nice example. Well, I've never done this on a podcast before because I usually have slides and nice pictures, but I would try my best.
Yeah, it's a great thing about a podcast. You're denied all of your visual aids.
Yeah. So say that you've got a image recognition model, and
Yeah.
I've trained it with 1,000 pictures of kittens and cats.
Yeah.
And it's a cat recognition model, right?
So it can look at a cat and with its knowledge, it can say that's probably, I don't know names of cats.
Yeah.
That's probably,
Abyssinian.
well done, thank you.
Sure. This is a cat, right? This is a very simple model.
That's probably quite easy. Even I could do that.
This is a very simple model, Lee. So I feed it new images of cats.
It's just a cat.
and it's able to detect the cat quite well. So I'm like, hey, this is great. I can start using it in production. But as I said, if you don't know what it's looking at, what the model's looking at, we can't use it yet. And for example, if you look at the training data, say, I just told you that I used 1,000 pictures of cats. But what if I also told you that all these cats were on a lawn or like on grass?
So anything on grass could be a cat.
Exactly. I don't know whether I've got a really good cat detection system or a grass detector model. So this field, it basically gives you tools to kind of piece together what it's trying to look at.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You didn't need slides for that. Well done.
No,
Well played.
yeah.
Well played. That's good, right? Is there also an element on the explainability, explicability? What did you say?
Explainability.
Explainability. Is there also an element about the concern that AI starts just doing its own thing and no one quite knows what's going on? Isn't that quite a big drive to make sure? Thank you. That's just how he breathes on me again. Yeah, because that's a major concern, isn't it? Kind of maybe a little bit paranoid, but the AI just goes off and does its own thing and actually no one knows what it's up to.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's kind of two elements to that. One is how has it been trained, because obviously a model is only as good as its training data. So where did that come from? Is there any copyrighted things in it? And is it going out to other sources of data that we haven't given it explicitly? But as you say, also there's the output side as well. What kind of outputs are they giving us? And is it going sort of AWOL outside of the parameters that we give it? But I mean, the good news is at the moment we can kind of give quite strict parameters to our models. So we're not there yet.
Mm.
And I don't think famous last words, I don't think we'll get there unless we want it to, if you see what I mean.
No, not for you, mate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right, well, let's bring it to IP. So actually, firstly, so you physics, you went to your internship, you discovered that...
Oh, hang on, one question. Because he will not forgive me if I don't ask this. In any of that time, did you meet Roger Burt?
I did. Well, I started. I met Roger when I started training as an attorney because he had already retired.
Isn't he the most lovely person
I
ever?
love Roger. Everyone loves Roger.
We're going to Roger love him.
He's awesome.
Yeah, he's
awesome.
amazing. I actually saw him a couple of days ago.
Oh, wow.
He came in to have coffee with us at IBM. I said hi from you.
Oh, thank you.
He
That's
says hi
so kind,
too.
Yeah. Yeah, he would do, yeah, because we love one another. Sorry, I've done the Roger Burt bit, so I'm good. You carry on.
I'll actually very quickly ask, was it the maths or the physics that was useful during your internship and kind of the first part, the actual AI part of your...
Oh, I would actually say neither.
What came in useful?
I would say this is kind of the boilerplate answer, but more of the problem solving aspect. Because we're never going to have really hard mathematical algorithm. We're not going to have clients coming up to us saying, "Can you solve this 100-year math problem?" or "Can you solve this really hard physics problem?"
Yeah.
Unless it's an engineering company, I guess. But it was just, I guess, the way you approach really difficult.
Where'd you get that from then? So where in your training does the problem solving bit come from?
Well, the whole degree was really hard, like extremely difficult.
That's quite a big problem to solve.
Really,
Yeah.
You'd be really clever.
Yeah, I get that because I'm a plumber,
Really
mate. I
clever.
had to learn how to turn nuts and bolts.
I can't turn that some
We can't do that. So,
I'd kind of probably when the revolution comes.
Yeah, that's how you turn.
Yeah.
That's how you turn nuts and bolts.
No one's going to want the physicist then. So career-wise, you got into that. You obviously shifted towards inventing. And is that how you came across the IP side of things because you'd seen it? Okay.
Yeah, and even while I was working at IBM and working with IP attorneys within my company, I realized that this sector of law was quite different to like normal solicitor and barrister jobs. Yeah. I thought they, had a normal law degree and then sort of specialized, kind of like our US colleagues. So it was really interesting to see that.
I always describe it. I love my members, CIPA members, and I always describe them as. So I come from a further education background, and the thing about further education teaching is that you have two identities. You are the teacher, but you are the subject you teach, and you never lose the first, and you become better at the second, and the two are always combined. And I always think about patent attorneys as being exactly the same. You are always the scientist, the engineer, the technologist, or whatever, and then the law kind of overlays on top of that, and and your professional identity is really unique to you because it's about how you learn, what you're interested in, but also then your ability to kind of dress up within the law. But so that's just me talking kind of stuff that I'm interested in. Barbara, what's the first thing you invented?
Oh, the first thing, I don't remember. It was so long ago. It was about 8-9 years ago. It might have been to do with voice control devices. Again, we saw this issue on the BBC, and it was around when Alexa was coming out. And there was a really funny story where a little boy or a little girl, I don't remember, they basically ordered a bunch of toys from Amazon.
Oh, I think I remember this. Yeah.
Oh, Alexa, buy this, Alexa, buy that. Yeah. And what happened was this newscast story being broadcasted into people's living rooms with Alexas in it. They started buying a bunch of these toys on behalf of, I guess, the reporter. So we were thinking, hey, this is an issue. So I think one of my first inventions was a software one, actually, and it was around how to kind of mitigate that using spatial awareness and historical map.
So that's really interesting. Gwyneth might not remember this, but on one of our earliest podcasts, you'll remember my Alexa butting in when.
Yeah, I do remember that.
So we were talking about invention, and my question to the guest was, so how are you going to get that product to market? And my Alexa said, "You want to go to the market? Do you want me to get you in a taxi?" And poor old Fran, sat over there, had to edit it all out.
Oh, you should have kept that in. That's hilarious.
I think we did keep it in. So how did the IBM thing come along? How did you find yourself at IBM?
Mainly through the internship in the summer. But yeah, it was my first time in sort of the tech industry because, as I was saying earlier, I wanted to go into medical physics, and that was one in hospitals and like clinical science building and things like that. But IBM's been great. I mean, I've been able to move around within the company quite a lot, which has helped for me.
It's quite big, isn't it?
It's quite big, yeah. So for me, it's been great being able to, be an engineer, dabble in some design work, doing some marketing, and eventually falling into IP. So yeah, it's been.
And you got kind of talent spotted, or is there internal vacancy came up? How did the shift happen?
It was the latter. I think they were looking for a qualified attorney, but at that time it was quite difficult to bring London attorneys down into Hursley. So Hursley is a little town near Winchester, about an hour.
Know it well, yeah.
Yeah, and obviously it's now different with hybrid working and things like that in the industry, but it's quite a change. So I think they instead wanted to train someone up from the ground up. But ideally, someone with some inventing experience who knows the system from the other side. Yeah. And I think I had already become a master inventor at that time. So
what's a master?
Sensei.
Come on. What's a master inventor?
A master inventor. Well, so you know all about different companies have different incentivization schemes, right?
Yeah.
So IBM has monetization schemes, but also they've got kind of more community titles and certifications. So we've got senior inventors. Who I think you have to have 4 files and have community work and mentorship and things like that. And master inventors have to have at least 15 or 20 files in their name. along with sort of mentorship and community fostering
What's
and
next?
things like that. Oh, there isn't anything.
We've got the master.
CEO?
Jedi inventors.
Yeah.
No, you can't be the CEO. I'm the CEO. You can't be the CEO.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, you mean CEO of IBM? That's nothing, mate.
There's only one big cheese in here. Oh, yeah.
It's a camembert. It's over there, mate.
It's over
That's it,
You moved into the IT group. Are you kind of obviously focusing on the AI side, or are you having to spread out your technological expertise to other areas of patenting as well?
Yes, it's quite a spread. So I do focus on AI just because I am very interested in it.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really interesting growing space. But I think this is true for a lot of in-house attorneys. We have to be responsible for quite a lot of varied technologies depending on your company. And as you may know, IBM has a lot of technology interests.
Yeah.
So some of the other areas I look after are things like semiconductors, some chip technologies, other cloud technologies, and
Ooh, so you've got some proper hardware. You've got chip hardware going on there?
We've got some hardware. Yeah.
Oh, bring back the physics
Yeah,
for that. Ooh.
yeah.
That sounds stressful.
We still do proper hardware.
You got a little bit excited then.
I know, I'm more scared. I don't like the solid state or whatever it's called now. It scared me actually. A little bit. So we're going to talk about AI and patents and the profession and the future and everything
I would
else.
be more interested in the profession than patents, but yeah, it'd be good to do that.
You do that.
Yeah. So you and I kind of had a conversation at Congress, didn't we? Well, I was comparing Congress and I asked like a couple of stupid questions. But they were largely about what does this mean for the future of the profession? Should the profession be really scared? Are there things coming up on the horizon that's going to change it dramatically? So where are your views on that?
First of all, I think that was a really interesting event. I think a lot of people had some really positive feedback afterwards, because I think they didn't realise the extent of how much or how quickly this space is moving.
Absolutely.
Because I know, obviously, I came from the research side, so I know it's been, AI's been here for decades, but I think really over the last year or two, it's really ramped up. With ChatGPT coming available for the masses, I think people are
Game
starting
changer,
to
yeah.
exactly. And I think my main message, or at least my attempted message at the Congress, was AI is coming and we need to embrace it, but it won't replace attorneys. That was kind of my.
I had a slightly different take on that, didn't I? Which we can talk about in a moment. But first of all, where's Neil? Where's Neil in the crowd? Neil, hello. So
Is
you.
it row W?
So, right at the back, right.
I'm busy eating. Don't ask me too many questions.
So Neil will remember that we used to do SEPA debates, and we're going back maybe 7 years now. We did a SEPA debate, and it was about whether AI would ever replace a patent attorney. I can't remember the exact question, but it was about whether a patent
Within a generation,
a patent would be filed and approved without human intervention. I think was the debate. And it was really interesting because immediately a patent attorney spoke and said, well, are we talking about a good patent or like not a good patent? So, because if we're talking about a rubbish patent, of course it will be kind of, and the debate was immediately derailed.
Yeah,
but then,
that's what we do.
but that's what you do. It's absolutely what you do. Yeah. But I think the basic sort of flow from that was, no, it can't happen. This invention is too complicated. AI can never really get its hand. And then like ChatGPT comes on and people are doing stuff and so on.
Davos came too.
Davos, yeah, which of course we talked about
Still
quite a
waiting
lot
to hear
on
the
the
decision on
podcast.
that or something, which is odd.
So I posited something at Congress. You've not heard this, Graham. Apologies for this. Ellie's heard it before. You weren't invited. Is that why you didn't come? I'll invite you next time. Not to speak, just to drink, to drink and to podcast.
I can do
maybe.
that.
Just to podcast, yeah. But so Ellie's heard this and she laughed at me then. But I'm still.
I didn't laugh at you.
but I'm still going to play it out again because I quite like this. My thinking is quite old now because I'm going back like 5 or 6 years when I was trying to get my head around this. So I love constructs of professional identity about what professionals will look like in the future and how professional bodies need to kind of prepare for that. And I was trying to get my head around AI. And the only thing that in my lifetime has ever really resonated has been Kasparov, Deep Blue, kind of IBM computer, and him being beaten. And he didn't retire into some kind of like froth of despair. He thought the future is some kind of combination, kind of chess competition whereby humans, machines, etc. compete. And the interesting thing is that if so you've got three possible dimensions in that. You've got computer competing on its own, You've got human competing on his or her own, and you've got a combination of the two. And the interesting thing is that the human on its own, useless. Absolutely useless, loses. Yeah. Computer wins about 30% of the time. But the combination, and he called it a centaur.
Yeah.
So in my head, I've developed a kind of vision of the future accountant is like half person, half horse. They're a centaur. They're kind of rampaging through the land, doing accounting stuff.
As accountants do.
Will rampage. Those rampaging accountants, damn them. It's what they do. And in my mind, it was like the future has to be this amalgam of human and machine, and humans need to make the best of machines, and machines probably need to make the best out of humans. So kind of, and I just asked a question about whether that was what the future looked like, and I think Ellie and others said, nah.
I think because of our timing, we couldn't get onto it. But I like that because I really see us being more assisted by AI.
Yeah.
Kind of like, you know the story about calculators because we did a physics degree.
Well, you two did.
Yeah. Honorary.
I did logarithms in my plumbing.
You did?
Yeah. I had to use log tables
Yeah.
to calculate heat loss calculations and stuff like that. I'm quite well trained in this area.
Thermal physics.
Yeah. Go on, carry on, sorry.
So when calculators first came on, a lot of professors and teachers didn't want it. They were demonstrating against the use of it because they said, a lot of our core skills will just be forgotten.
So example in my plumbing. So I would sit kind of closed book exams, and you weren't allowed a calculator, but you were allowed a set of log tables.
Yeah.
Cheating. That's cheating. You should memorise your logs.
Yeah, can't you do that in your head, Lee? God.
No.
He's not an honorary physicist anymore.
Calculators. What happened with calculators?
Well, so this is how I see it, where now calculators are being used. Of course, we still teach children mental arithmetic. It's very important, but it just means that I feel like there's more space to do more important, more thought needing, like brain power needing.
How you use the knowledge
Exactly.
rather than just kind of use the technology
Just
to
being good at sums.
Yeah. So if we go back to our profession, I do think that AI will replace some aspects of it. So more of the systematic parts, things like categorizing inventions, things like that, or identifying tech codes, things like that. But if it means that we can give it basically the boring, easy things,
stuff.
that we can do more of the interesting things. Because I do think there is an art to our profession, especially drafting, which I don't think AI will replace.
It's really interesting you should say that, because I had a conversation with, I can't name the person, but the chief exec of the Law Society a couple of times back. So if you do the
people
math,
can probably look
so if you do the maths, you could probably work out who it was.
Yeah.
And at that time, he or she said that,
it was a centaur.
AI just isn't something we need to be worrying about, because it's going to take the grunt work out. It's going to take kind of searching out for solicitors. If you're doing conveyancing or whatever, it's going to take that sort of grunt work out. And I said, that's really cool. Yeah, I get that. Isn't that where your young solicitors come in and do their training? And the reply was, oh yeah. So isn't there kind of like a little bit of a worry that if we say, so AI is going to deal with the commoditizational stuff, do we lose the areas where we ground new young attorneys?
I think there's nothing stopping us training them in those things that we used to train them in. There's a few things, for example, in my line of work where we used to review all our code. This is at IBM. We needed to do an IP review, and our team just don't do that anymore. Not because of AI, just because of different structural changes. But I have been trained on it, so there's nothing to stop us being trained on it. The things that AI will replace.
So I now have a Roger Burt question to ask. I'm sure he always used to tell me a lie. Well, not a lie, but like a Roger Burt story. So
Hang on, wait. Roger Burt is a liar, or just his stories are all lies? Which are we saying here, Lee? We love him. We said that earlier on.
We
Don't
did.
we think
So,
he's a liar?
so he said that he used to have a little trick when it came to code and stuff. Another way of protecting IP was to like bury in the code swear words and stuff like that.
Right.
And if someone copied the code and
It's like putting fake addresses in.
yeah. Is that true? Can that happen?
I don't know. I'll ask him about it. I will ask him about it. That does sound like I saw this article yesterday about there's a lot of artists and people who are quite furious that people are using their work to train AI, and they're like sort of poisoning it now with
same thing,
watermarks.
same thing.
So I think there is ways to get around it, as you say.
I won't say exactly the way Roger described it to me, but
I'll ask him about it next time. That's hilarious.
So I was going to ask a question about, again, the impact on the profession, because a lot of patent attorneys listen to this, I hope. It's kind of
I hope they're not at work.
I hope.
Oh, you hope? Sorry, I
hope.
misheard.
And at home, or maybe on their run, I don't know.
I'm misheard.
Which is, in terms of the kind of the impact on what we do. And I'm heartened to hear you say that, we're still important and relevant, good. Fascinating fact, the number of patent attorneys in Europe is increasing exactly proportional to the number of patents in Europe.
Oh.
So we looked
That's
at
interesting.
we did a little bit of research on that. It's quite a reassuring fact. So there's basically the same number of patents per attorney. I think. However, AI probably is going to change the ratio a bit because we're going to get more support. So one patent attorney isn't needed for quite such a large number.
Yeah.
I was interested to talk about the kind of impact on the administration side. I mean, of course, we have an IP administrator.
We are moving on to a podcast about.
She's sat over
IP
there doing her
paralegals.
emails at the moment and not realising
With a very
she's
lovely-
actually called into this podcast. Well, come on over, Anne-Marie.
Hello.
Hello.
You see,
Hello.
we have an interloper. You need to introduce yourself first.
Oh, hello, I'm Anne-Marie.
No, that's not enough. Who are you and what do you do?
I am the chair of the IP Paralegals Committee, but I'm also a paralegal at Murgatroyd.
You're more than a paralegal, aren't you?
I'm more than a paralegal, but I just tell people I'm a paralegal, it makes life easier.
Aren't you a director?
I am.
Nice.
Wow, congratulations.
Thanks
That's
very
cool.
much.
So we're going to do a separate podcast. Don't worry, this is kind of warming you up. But we're just talking about AI, because I know you weren't just doing your emails. I know you were listening to every word.
Oh,
hanging
I was hanging off every
I
word,
can tell. But what on the kind of IP admin side, are people looking at AI and worrying about it, or do you see again we're discussing it being a useful tool?
Not that I've come across, no. I don't think that anybody seems to be too worried about it at the moment. Like Ellie said, I don't think that it really...
She was listening.
Yes, you see?
She's good.
Do I get a tick? Do I get a little gold star? I don't think that it can replace a patent attorney, and by the same token, I don't think it will replace a paralegal. The word on the street is it's not an issue at the minute.
That's what I want to hear. Yeah, I think it is interesting that people are worrying about it, which is the right thing. As you said, SEPA actually is getting quite concerned about it.
Yeah, we need a centaur working party is what we need.
That's quite good, isn't it? We can call it that. What is the call from the membership about that? What are the concerns?
So it's interesting. So in the last few weeks, I've probably had half a dozen maybe emails from different constituencies in the membership. Had it from IP paralegals, had it from people who are heading up the IT provision in firms, and had it from individual attorneys saying, there's something really scary just coming over the hill. Yes, what's this coming over the hill? Is it a monster? Is it a monster?
Thank you.
That's just another Halloween thing.
Is it the monster mash?
I can do this. I can do this.
different
I can do this. And saying, what's SEPA doing about this? Is it looking? But it's not about how is SEPA looking at this from the perspective of AI as an inventive tool or AI as kind of an inventive process, but AI as in what's it going to mean to us as professionals? And we probably do need, I get what Anne-Marie says and what Ellie says around how it's likely to impact, but I think as a proper kind of responsible professional body, we do need to take a little step back and say, let's properly think about this and try and codify it and make some sense of it.
I think there are some valid concerns because it's such a new technology. I keep hearing horror stories about clients not being properly educated by their attorneys and disclosing things into these new tools by accident, and of course that's just bad. And as I discussed,
Hey, ChatGPT, I've just invented so.
honestly, some people have been putting their inventions in, some people have been putting their claims in. It's just, it is a nightmare at the moment. And yeah, no, there are some like real concerns. So things like if for example a private practice firm aren't creating their own model, but instead they're using a third party generative AI model instead, how are you going to vet that? How do you know the accuracy? How is it being trained? And I think it's the responsibility of attorneys to understand it to a level. I understand, like I am a researcher and I still feel like I don't understand what's going on. It's too fast. There's a lot. But
that's quite reassuring to someone like me, yes.
we do need to understand the basics and kind of at least understand where it's going, right, in our industry. And I think we do have a duty to educate our clients on it for their sakes.
The concern in many ways, though, is that we're all looking at this from all these different areas, but how is it going to impact on us? And another one that I think is worth talking about is the impact potential on media and communications.
If only we had an expert in the room.
Oh, hang on a minute. Just over here, is that Neil? Neil, come and join us for a moment. Are you worried? What you do? Tell us what you do on the kind of the MediaCom side, and then we'll talk about your concerns there.
He just writes stuff in ChatGPT now. I know. That's what he does.
Wow. I mean, that is a real thing. People are using ChatGPT, if I can say it, for press releases and media statements, and without a doubt. I mean, all you've got to do is go on the internet and have a look at some marketing blogs and see how they're suggesting that people use ChatGPT in the correct sort of ways for marketing.
But it's still a human tool, isn't it? You're still using what you know about the world of comms and what you know about the subject that you're trying to communicate, and you're using it as a way of kind of finessing a message.
Yeah. At a simple mechanical level, you can see how ChatGPT is useful, but when you're looking at a more sophisticated how to influence an audience, then that currently still needs a human.
And without going into detail, but there's been some fairly nuanced messages that we've been asked to put out or needed to put out recently. And again, presumably, no machine's ready to make a call on some of the stuff yet. Let's not go into the detail, but no machine's in the position to make that call on what we can say, what we shouldn't say, I guess.
No, and I guess you've got to have accountability, and you've got to have human accountability somewhere.
So if a machine could do this,
line, haven't you?
we'd have used it for like the CPTPP campaign, and I would not be an award-winning CEO. So
you have so many other talents. Yeah. Honestly, you would have won. You're a winner.
You're an award-winning CEO.
Hey, I'm not mentioning that. I'm not getting into this podcast.
it's so difficult to mention.
Yeah,
It's so difficult.
yeah. It's interesting. I mean, that impact more broadly on kind of, not just media and comms, but also publications. Anyone, Lee, who could possibly talk about the impact?
Publications. If only we had someone in the room who was an expert on publications.
Hang on a minute.
Hello.
Ian, your role.
Not too concerned at the moment. A tool really that we can use, and hopefully, like a calculator, speed up our work. And
Nothing will ever replace the editor of the journal.
but obviously, keep an eye on it and see what's going on, because it's quite the little bits I've played around with are quite impressive, and definitely need to keep an eye on it.
So Ellie, they're a bit complacent, aren't they? Should they not be thinking a little bit more seriously about this?
Perhaps, only because there are different. I think there's different professions where it's going to impact more, like quicker. I think that's the only difference, the speed of the impact. Yeah. I think it will impact all professions, but there is more quick, because a lot of your work, I imagine, is word based, right? And so I think, it's just another tool to learn how to use, I guess. I think that's how we should approach it at the moment.
I am aware of publishing companies that have cut the staff already.
Really?
With AI, so
We are seeing we are seeing AI moving into like image generation and layouts and design, everything really, I guess. So anything visual as well as text based.
So shall I tell a little award story? So listeners to the podcast will know that recently I won an award, as did our IP paralegal community. Won an award for member engagement there.
Yeah, except no one really knows about that because I don't talk about it very much.
Yeah, but you come on the podcast. But you're going to on the next podcast when it's your podcast. But so the interesting thing for me was I was a judge on 2 of the categories for that awards evening.
That's how you
Not mine. And I went for lunch a couple of weeks later with the chief executive of the organisation who had got the most nominations through to final, including 2 that I judged, and I judged both of them to be the winner in that case. And no names. So over lunch, I just said to him, I said, you got to tell me your secret. I said, we entered 9 awards, we got shortlisted for 6, really, really happy with that. You entered 10, got shortlisted for 10. How did you do it? ChatGPT. He said, didn't do a thing ourselves. We just said to ChatGPT, please write this award kind of application. These are the sorts of things we want to mention, and it wrote it. And I felt gutted because I judged. No, clearly they deserved to win the categories that I judged them on. But to be said, the things that you read, no human wrote.
No, you've been foxed.
Yeah.
Well, mate, your citation was written by a human.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it was written by you.
Yeah, hang on.
Graham, I am conscious that we've been podcasting now for well over almost an hour, which is a long one for us.
Nearly 100 episodes.
Yeah, we're near 100 episodes, and we've got our 100th guest has arrived in the room, but he should remain nameless for the moment.
We've got a 99th guest.
The 99th guest is kind of sat on the table. So
I'm
no, you're not. No. You count as one guest, everyone on the table, currently. But you, so Ellie, this was your podcast before Gwilym rudely introduced other people into it.
You said you wanted to be in a team there, right?
And one of the things that we try to do on the podcast is to end up with a question that's a little bit tangential and a little bit left field and stuff like that. And normally I would think about that on the podcast, and I would ask it of Gwilym, and then we'd go around the other guests. But he passed me a little note earlier on and said, I've got the closing question.
And it was again inspired by something very early on in the podcast, which is you had the unique opportunity to rechristen yourself with your new name when you came to school here, or when you grew up a little bit. I'm interested to know for the whole table, accepting you.
Oh no! Ellie's got to go first.
We've
got the questions.
Accepting you.
Okay.
What would you rename yourself as the first time? And Ellie, now you've had your chance. Would you stick with it? Would you change it? And don't think about that. Reflect. It always ends up with me then, doesn't it? So I'm sorry with you.
No, you can't start with me.
Lee, you're here, you're thinking, I'm tired of being called Lee, it doesn't work.
So I learnt last week what I was meant to be called. And this is only because someone asked me a question about kind of where does your name come from. And I don't know. I have no idea. Surely, you're in your late 50s, surely you've, no, never. So I texted my mum and she said, your name was a compromised name.
Oh.
My dad's a kind of rampant Welshman, really rampant Welshman, and he wanted me to be called Llw.
Nice.
So double L E.
No one can say
Llw. No, and my mum said, no one, you idiot, no one can say that. So they sat down and worked out that if they kind of, because I've always wondered why I was such an old Lee. I'm a really old Lee. Yeah, I'm even too old to be named after like Lee Majors or anything like that. So because that would have been, I'd have been born in the 70s then, and that's not the case. So I'm really old Lee, and it was just that. It was if people could say it, I'd quite like to be called Llw.
How?
Double L is shut in Welsh. It's a really weird sound.
So yeah, thank you for the question. I was there.
There we go.
So a little bird tells me
Yes.
that Ellie kind of prepped for this and had like a quiz for us.
I don't think anyone's ever prepped.
No one.
in
Well,
history.
you've never prepped for the podcast in a whole. I do a little bit of prep, obviously, because I kind of quite like to make it work properly.
Yeah.
Come on, what have you done? What have you got?
So I've got 3 questions.
3? Only 3?
But they're 3 fun AI.
Okay, let's do them. Yeah.
And the person who wins I'll buy a drink after.
Wow.
Yeah.
So hang on, who are the competitors? Is it me and Gwilym or everyone in the room?
It's everyone in the room.
Oh no.
Phone stand.
There's
So
3 questions.
I've now gone from being favourite to.
Thanks. Right, let's go.
Okay, number 1. What did Alan Turing, one of the fathers of AI, chain to his radiator when working at Bletchley Park to make sure it doesn't get stolen by his colleagues? I'll give you 3 options. 1, his stapler. 2, his cat. 3, his tea mug.
No, it's got to be his team mug. Got to be his team mug. Team.
So who says A?
I'm going A just because the majority went somewhere else. I'm going A.
2, his cat.
That's mean. Oh, you're dumb.
And 3, his tea mug.
I'm going to
Team mug. Team mug.
The answer is C, tea mug. So just tally which ones you've gotten right. So, okay, number 2. Arthur C. Clarke chose the name HAL 9000 for the AI system in the Space Odyssey. Which of the following names were not working names of the computer when they were developing? Number 1, Socrates. Number 2, Autonomous Mobile Explorer 5. Number 3, Asimov 2000. So who's for number 1, Socrates?
Too obvious.
Me.
Too obvious.
Okay. Number 2, Autonomous Mobile Explorer 5.
Yeah, I'll go for that.
And number 3, Asimov 2000. It's 3, Asimov 2000.
So hang on. So is this because this is a rubbish AI quiz and all the answers are 3? Because that's the only way AI can land. Yeah.
Oh, God. So the third and final question. As Quizmaster, I'm gonna... It's not number 3. Okay.
Yeah, right.
Okay, this is the final one. Which was the first computerized game to have an AI component or opponent? Number 1, NIM. Number 2, chess. And number 3, Space Invaders. So who's for number 1, NIM? Fran. Okay, number 2, chess.
Oh, I've got to go chess, haven't I? I've got to go
Okay.
chess.
And number 3, Space Invaders.
Me.
And the answer is NIM, 1951. Do we have a tie? Who's won?
I think Fran's won.
No, we both got.
We got two.
Oh, yeah, tie break.
I have a tiebreaker.
Right, this is just between Matt and Fran.
Yeah.
Everyone else, you're out of this now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, mano a
We
mano.
need to go back to back.
Yeah, let's do this.
Well, because it's the tiebreak, I'll change the thing slightly. So,
Oh, God.
which year was the term artificial intelligence first coined? Give me a date, and then I'll say which one's the closest.
Can we go higher or lower? Is it? Are we
No.
just closest?
Closest. Just give me 1 year.
If they're exactly the same distance, you have a tiebreaker.
No.
1970.
Okay. And
I
Matt?
went 1948.
That's a big difference.
What's the difference?
It's somewhere in between.
Matt is correct because the answer was 1956.
And that's why I'm president.
Not yet. Ellie, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. Anne-Marie, Neil, Ian, thank you for joining us accidentally as well. It was almost just as nice. Gwilym, I will see you on the next one, mate, which is like just a few minutes away, I think.
9 minutes.
9 minutes away. Anne-Marie needs to go and prep herself up for this one. Thank you all.